Hey, what's up, you guys? WWE Fan 0599 here again. And today we're going to be doing another top 5 list. And today's top 5 list will be my top 5 most disappointing movies of 2015. Now, there were some really disappointing films. Now, what do I consider a disappointing movie? I consider a disappointing movie to be a movie I was really looking forward to. Had so much excitement and so much build to it. And end up being just mediocre or really bad. So, we're here to talk about those films. But before we get into my top 5 list, I do have 3 dishonorable mentions. And those dishonorable mentions are Black Hat, Chappie, and Insurgent. Those movies I was really looking forward to, and they ended up being huge disappointments. Black Hat was garbage, Chappie was just meh, and so was Insurgent. So, those movies I was really looking forward to, and they just weren't really that good in the end. So, those are my dishonorable mentions. Now let's get into my top 5 list. And coming in at number 5 is Crimson Peak. Crimson Peak, I was honestly really looking forward to this movie because, it's directed by one of my favorite directors working right now, Guillermo del Toro. He's done some great movies, he's done some excellent movies, like Blade 2, the Hellboy movies, and Pacific Rim. But this was not really that good, honestly. This movie just was a very mediocre of a film. The plot was disinteresting. I could care less what was going on. It was very boring, honestly. A very boring film. And Jessica Chastain gives a really over-the-top performance. I mean, Tom Hiddleston was by far the best thing about the film. This movie was falling flat on so many things. And the movie's not even all that scary, honestly. There were a few creepy moments here and there, but it just, in reality, it doesn't even feel like a horror film. It feels like a gothic romance film. And I know that's what he was going for, but don't have your marketing team market it as a haunted house horror film. You know what I mean? So, but Crimson Peak just really wasn't all that great in my opinion, and I think it could have been a lot better, honestly. So, that's why it's my number 5. Number 4. Legend. Legend I saw, I think just last week, and man, oh man, did it disappoint me. This was in my top 5 most anticipated films for the rest of the year. I was so looking forward to this movie. That trailer, that full-length trailer, not the teaser trailer, but that full-length trailer, I loved it so much. It's honestly one of my favorite trailers of the year. And then the movie was bland, honestly. The movie is very bland. Most of its characters you don't care about. The plot is very disinteresting. They focus way too much on the relationship between Ronald and Francine. They focus way too much on that. And it's just, it was boring. It's one of the most boring films I've seen this year. I was nearly almost falling asleep during this film. It wasn't that interesting of a movie, Legend. It honestly wasn't. And that saddens me, really, because it looked like a great gangster film, and the gangster stuff is by far the most interesting stuff in the film, but there's not much of that because they focus a lot on that relationship, and it was very disinteresting. So, and it just was a mediocre movie, and it could have done a lot better with the film. So, Legend is my number 4. Coming in at number 3 is Vacation. Now, all of you are going why is Vacation on your disappointing list? If you go back to my top 10 most anticipated movies of 2015, this was on here. Yeah, this was number 7. Because I was so invested to see what they would do with a different take on Vacation, It wasn't going to be a straight up reboot. It was actually going to be a reboot/sequel, and I was very interested in that because, seeing how Rusty will do taking his family on vacation, that would have been very interesting to see. But the movie ended up being complete garbage, and it was an awful comedy. It was really, really, really bad, honestly, this movie. This movie is pretty atrocious. The comedy falls flat on its face, mostly throughout the entire film. Every single joke, mostly, is very, very cringeworthy. You're just like, who would say this? Like, just some of the stuff you hear in the film, you're like, who in their right mind would say this? Like, really? Ed Helms is a complete idiot in this movie. He really is. He's a complete idiot in this film. He really is. Most of the characters are complete idiots in this movie. They really are. And, like, the kids. Oh, my goodness, the kids. The older brother was annoying as can be. And then Satan's child. Satan's child. The kid you just grab and throw all the way to China. Okay. You're getting yourself too angry. Alright, calm down. Yeah. Vacation is an awful film. And it's definitely a movie that disappointed me a lot. So, my number 3 is Vacation. Number 2. Taken 3. Taken 3, I was really looking forward to as well. It was another film that was on my top 10 most anticipated movies of the year, because the reason I had it on there is because, of course, it stars my favorite actor, Liam Neeson, and second, it could have been a much, much better sequel than Taken 2, and it honestly did. In the trailers, it looked like it would have been a better movie than Taken 2, you know, and I was really looking forward to it. It honestly looked really good. I really liked the trailers, you know, so yeah. But Taken 3 ended up being worse than the second movie. How? Just how do you end up being worse than Taken 2? Taken 2 was pretty awful. But man, is this movie worse. This movie is way worse than Taken 2. It honestly is. I mean, just the movie is very, very bad. The action is sloppy. Really, really sloppy. Like, you know, Olivia Megaton, you should take some notes from George Miller. Please, take some notes from him, because at least he knows how to do action. You do not know how to do action. The action is sloppy. You could barely see what's going on in the film. It's literally like this. It literally is like that. I'm not exaggerating. It literally is like that throughout the entire film. The movie is so predictable. You can see where this movie is going. Like, you know who the bad guy is from a mile away. Even in the beginning of the film. It's very predictable. The logic is out the window with this movie. There's no logic whatsoever with Taken 3. Just Taken 3 is an awful mess. And it's by far my number 2 on my most disappointing films of 2015. But my number 1 most disappointing movie of 2015 is Fantastic Four. Man, I was really looking forward to Fantastic Four, you know. It looked great, honestly. This movie did look incredible. It could have been the Batman Begins for Fantastic Four movies. It honestly could have been. The teaser trailer, I was so blown away by it. I was like, we're finally going to get the Fantastic Four movie we want. But no. Now, I didn't hate this movie like a lot of people. But that doesn't mean I still didn't think it was a good movie. And I still didn't walk out very, very, very disappointed. I felt miserable after this movie. Because I was sad, honestly. I was like, I really want to like this movie. I really wanted it to be really good. And it just wasn't. Dr. Doom was a garbage villain. The last 2 acts were very disinteresting. The third act is one of the worst third acts I've ever seen to a film. The writing was awful. The directing wasn't even all that great. But, you know, it just wasn't that good of a movie. Sure, I still stand by my statement that this is the best Fantastic Four, like, in terms of the team, it is the best Fantastic Four we've seen on screen so far. I still stand by that. But it just, with the messy plot and the messy, like, directing and just a messy vision with this film, and you can definitely tell Fox had their hands with this. And I was so disappointed with Fantastic Four. It's by far my most disappointing film of the year. So, yeah. So that's my top 5 most disappointing films of 2015. What are your guys' top 5 most disappointing films of 2015? Leave in the comment section below. I'm WWE Fan 0599, and we'll see you about later. Peace.